Screaming Demons RC Sdrc in the shop. I've got a bit of a project to do this evening. I'll be taking apart this brand new transmission and greasing up all the bearings, lubing them all up, and putting it all back together, Loctiting everything. This is going into Dozer, is a new crawler build I'm doing for him. It's all aluminum Wraith, axial Wraith build, and this is a all aluminum transmission. I'll be putting into this transmission at the end this 55 turn motor. This is a 55 turn tuned machine, modified 55 turn motor by Panther. I think it says Snow Panther Hobby. So my camera, man, I tell you, I got to look into this more. I say this probably almost every video, and if I don't figure this out soon, this camera, I'm going to get a new one for doing these videos, because it's good for action, but it's not so much for the close up and zooming in on stuff. So I'll even have to check out another setting. Maybe I'll but anyway, I just wanted to show you what I got here this evening for myself to do. And I'll be putting in this 22 tooth pinion onto that motor. That might be a bit tall geared. I might have to drop it down a bit. Maybe, you know, I don't know, 15, 16 tooth pinion. Something like that. We'll see how it handles. It's going to be a heavy truck, so it might need a bit more of a torque pinion. Other than that, that might be a little bit too much speed for it. But we'll see how it goes once we get it up and running. Anyway, I'll show you what this transmission's like when I get it open. Alright, I've got the transmission all apart, and everything looked good inside. I added liberal amounts of grease, lubricant, the gear lube and bearing lube that we use here in the shop, and everything looked great. It's a nice quality piece. The gears are all nice, hardened look to them, nice black finish to them. They look great. There was no real things that I saw I didn't like with it. It's nice assembly. Here's some of the other parts. I kept everything together, so it's easy to put back together. I'll be using Permatex Blue medium strength Loctite to reassemble all this stuff. I always use Loctite on any threads that are into aluminum. Never use it on plastic. It just melts the plastic and then gives you a headache when you have to replace everything that's falling apart and melted. And all the bearings are metal sealed, so I can't pop the seals out of them. But I'm just giving them all wiping the old lubricant off that came stock in there. It just is probably cheap anyway. So I'm wiping that off and just squirting as much as I can of our lubricant into the bearings themselves. Like I said, I can't take the seals out, so I'm getting as much in as I can and leaving some extra in the casings and stuff just around the bearings so that it can whip around in there and keep everything nice and lubricated for a couple of years to come. Probably I won't have to do this transmission for Gord unless he's really hard on it and destroys it for some reason, but I don't see that happening. Knock on wood. It is Gord after all. Alright, so what else? We got the slipper clutch unit here. Nice little unit. Nice pad here. Nice thickness to it. Feels good. It's a bit slippery, so we'll see how it grabs. It might need to be scuffed with some Scotch-Brite or some sandpaper to give it a bit of a texture to it. It's kind of slippery. The gear here it came with is a metal gear. And there's an aluminum hub for the slipper bolted on. I'll take those 3 screws out and make sure they're Loctited in. That's a bushing in the center. It's not, yeah, I think it's part of the hub actually. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think it's yeah, it doesn't come off. Sorry about that. I was checking to see if that came off as a washer, that center one there. But I think it's just part of the aluminum hub that bolts on the back. So I'll take those screws out and Loctite all that in place. And I'm going to get all this put back together, and I'll show you what it looks like then. One more thing I will show you is this is a transmission that has the dig feature. It could have the dig feature. This one does not have it. If it had it, there would be some more parts inside of this casing. And I'll pull out this bearing, and this it's basically the locker. This is where your differential would be, but this is a locker because it's a crawler, so it's locked. Front and rear wheel drive go at the same time. So you can see on the one side there's a bigger bearing and a smaller bearing on the other side. And inside of the casing here, if you can see inside of there, would be where the dig mechanism would go inside of there. But this casing, I guess, doesn't come with that feature. But it looks like, because of this added extra piece here, I think that you could put it in there. As far as I know, I'm not up on all the crawler stuff. I'm much more of a basher than a crawler, so I tend to know a bit more about the bashers than about the crawlers, like some of the guys in our group, and obviously some of you out there, they're probably watching this. If you can let me know what you're watching this and you know what's missing out of this casing, leave me a comment in the comments. What parts are not included in this to make the dig feature. Anyway, I'm going to get on with this. I'll show you what it's like when it's all back together. Alright, I've got the transmission all back together. Everything's all lubed up and Loctited up. Good to go. Next stage will be mounting the motor. And so like I said earlier, I've got this 55 turn motor, brushed motor that I'll be putting on here. And a 22 tooth pinion. That's a 48 pitch gears for the pinion and the spur, obviously matching sets. That's how you have to go. If you don't, you're not going to last very long with those gears, are you? Anyway, I'm going to get this mounted. I'll show you what it looks like. I got to dig out a couple of screws for the motor to mount, and then she'll be on there. Alright, I've got the motor all mounted on there. I had a bit of an issue with the pinion, which is very strange because I've never had this issue before. The pinion would not go onto the shaft of the motor. For some reason, it was not drilled out to the proper size. It's too small for the shaft. So instead of drilling it out, I wasn't going to take the time because I think it needed a smaller pinion, the 22 tooth anyway. So I dug into my little bag here of assorted pinions for 48 pitch. And I think there's a couple other odds and sods in there too. I dug in there and I found a nice 20 tooth that was in great shape and I think will be perfect for this application. So I stuck that on there, found a couple of good screws, put it at a nice, the gap tolerance there. You can just hear it knocking. But these are all metal gears, right? Metal spur and a metal pinion, obviously. So you need a bit more tolerance on the metal ones, I find, than the plastic ones. And also the metal ones aren't going to wear out and rip a tooth off like the plastic ones if you are a bit loose. And I find on the metal ones it's better to be a little bit loose than too tight. So that's my take on that anyway. And so this thing's all back together, and the next thing I will be doing will be assembling the 4-link suspension onto the main chassis deck, and then I will bolt this transmission and motor down onto the bottom of the deck. It's in a box here. I can show you what I'm talking about. Here it is right here. This is the bottom of the chassis for the Wraith. The suspension links bolt in there and there and there and there on each side. All the links are in this bag too, so I will be getting that out and putting all that together in the next segment of this video, so stay tuned for that.